There we go. We are recording. I think it might make you hit a button or something. So the Q&A, here we go. So we're going to start with a couple that were in the group, and then I do have an announcement to make regarding some of the Becoming Magical Academy stuff. But let's go ahead and get started with questions. Okay, so Talia, that's how you say your name, right?
Talia.
Talia, thank you. All right, so I'm gonna start with your question. And then I believe, Rachel, you had a question as well. So we'll go, since you guys are here, we'll start with your all's questions. Talia, so beautiful. Okay, let's see here. I have them on my phone. So I just wanna make sure that I'm pulling up the right question. Here it is. Okay, question regarding money. So, and I know that if you have a question that it's going to apply to other people, we know that, right? So I'm just going to read what was written and then I'm going to answer it. So this is the question. I have a question on money. So as you're listening to this, even if you're watching the replay, make sure that you are thinking, how does this apply to me? As soon as I start making some money or receive a large sum, unexpected bills show up. So I always end up not being able to save or go to the next level. For example, I had a really great month and then my pipes broke. I mean, seriously, who can relate to this? I feel like we've all, for sure. So I had to replace them and the money went to that. I'm grateful that I had the money for it. Good. But it's odd that it keeps happening. But is it though? So why does this happen and how can I shift so that I'm able to go to the next level financially and actually keep the money? I feel like, and this is partly why I wanted to start with this question, because I feel like everybody has gone through this, right? Every single one of us. And this is what I was kind of referring to when I was specifically talking about the thermostat, right? So this is the exact example of how the thermostat plays out in our lives. So it's the exact example of I made the money and so I was able to bring it in, but then, so the thermostat is here. It's like, oh, money. So it's like, it feels like in the room, it cools off a bit, which is again, that equivalent to the window being opened up. But then, you know, I don't know, that was a terrible noise, but then the thermostat kicks back on and heats the room right back up to the same temperature. And so we can recognize that that's happening. And then the question becomes, well, how do I make it stop happening? How do I stop doing that so that I can go to the next level? And so, first of all, just understanding that this is just that pattern playing out. This is just what happens. And so there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing bad. It's just like, oh, let me just have the awareness that my thermostat is set at 75 degrees and I want it to go to 80. So how do we move it to 80? And this is the actual process that we have to go through, because this is where it's like somewhere within you, there is a feeling that of unsafety to go to that next level, like fully go to that. I apologize. Our cleaning people came as like right as I was getting ready to go live. So I hope you can hear me okay. I'm gonna put the computer a little closer. And so it's like, what does that look like to grow that energetic container? Because essentially, so remember when I was talking about the nervous system and how that this is that playing out as well. It's like your body doesn't feel safe being with that much income, with that level of income. And so we find a way, the subconscious is like, we got to find a way to get rid of it because it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel normal to us. Right. And so that is what is unfolding. It just doesn't feel normal. It doesn't feel good. And it doesn't feel safe. And so consciously we're like, but yeah, it does. I really want that money. It would feel really good. But again, if you haven't, your subconscious is only ever going to allow you to experience, you know, what you've already experienced is just that normal spot. And so, for example, this was playing out with me it played out with money, but it also played out with anxiety. And so this is another way of sort of saying it to give you a little bit of perspective of like, it makes no sense to say anxiety feels good to me, right? Because anxiety feels terrible. But my body for the longest time was very used to feeling anxious. And so that was what my thermostat internally was set at. And so even if you're thinking about it from a money perspective, it's like, if the money comes, then I feel good. That would make me feel good. And this is where it's like this sort of not sick game, but kind of like this sick game, because ultimately you really, a part of you would really prefer to feel the normal way, whatever the normal way is. And so then the process becomes, I always think awareness is first. So I think just you having the awareness is already starting to break the spell, right? Because that is a spell. It's like, oh, the spell is I'm only allowed to contain this much money because that feels normal because of blah, 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 blah. So just first off, having the awareness starts to shatter it and go, well, maybe that's not really the truth of how it has to be for me. Like maybe that is only because of these experiences that I've had in my life. So step one, you've already done it, right? And that's why I talk about in the trainings, like just you being here, having some of the breakthroughs, having some of the ahas is already starting to break the spell, because the spell can't exist if you're aware of it, if you're really conscious of it. And so the second part then becomes, how do I rewrite the spell and start to experience a new way and a new level of what feels normal, right? It's really like how do I build a new normal around money and around feeling good and peaceful in my body? So again, with the anxiety, the money and anxiety were really tied for me. And so I want you guys to think about if you've ever experienced whatever your, right, the special brand of sabotage is, that special brand, if you've ever experienced any kind of unsettled feeling in your body when it comes to money. It's like, if the money goes out, then all of a sudden your body is like, oh, wait, what's that? You can literally feel it, right? It feels like a thing in your body. And so this is where the work has to come in the body to say, oh, actually, I don't have to feel that way. And then it becomes like playing chicken with the universe. I actually could decide in this moment that I'm going to feel good anyway, that I'm going to not allow that craziness of the pipes bursting or whatever and the money going out to shake me to my core and to knock my nervous system out of balance, which is the normal feeling. So then it's like, what actual practical processes do we then have to have in place to do that? And so then we get to come back to, the most basic things that we all know to do. What do I need to do in this moment to feel better? This is why I talk about, if you guys have seen my magical bath thing, for the longest time, it was like, that was my go-to. Well, I feel terrible, so I'm going to go take a bath. Right? It's like the simplest thing, but I'm going to fill it with bath salts and I'm going to put in hypnosis recording, and I'm just going to calm my body down and allow myself to sink into what it feels like to feel okay, even though the money just went out. Because I know right now what I'm connecting to, my subconscious is like, this is normal. But I'm creating a new normal. I want to create a new way of feeling and being in my body. And so, what do I need to do right now to make that happen? And then, again, we can come in with the actual subconscious spell that we want to create. And we start crafting that. And what we do when we do that is we start to create an energetic container where we're focusing that attention very specifically, very focused. And that's where then we kind of have to go back to some of those energetic parts and principles of saying, I am going to do whatever it takes to allow myself to stay up here, even though all the things going on are down here. And when I can do that over and over and over and over again, and I can, use the subconscious tools also, now that starts to happen faster, right? Because we talked about this as well on the call. It's like matter moves slower than energy. And so you're gonna naturally, your thoughts and feelings are going to shift first. They have to, and they're going to because it's easier and they move faster. And it's gonna take time for the reality to match up and catch up, right? And the more we keep going in and saying, ooh, what's here, peeling it back, right? What's here that makes me feel afraid to have money in my account? Right? The shadow part, that shadow work of diving into what's actually here that makes me feel unsafe. What will I gain by keep losing all this money? What do I get to keep then? Oh, I get to stay small. Oh, I don't have to do this. Oh, people might want more money from me. Oh, my bills would go up. Oh, like all of these things that are in the unconscious, we start to really get extremely dedicated in looking at and then recrafting, right? So old spell, new spell, old spell, new spell, subconscious work. Exactly. I'd have to pay more. Thank you, Heather. I'd have to pay more taxes if I make more money. I actually know a person. So you all know now that I come from the beauty industry and I was in a salon for 12 years. And there was a guy that worked right next to me and he actually did really, really well. And I kept raising my prices, right? And he would just stay the same. And I was like, why are you staying the same? And exactly. And he said, well, my wife won't let me raise my prices because that would put us in the next tax bracket. And I'm like, what? Really? You're going to hold yourself back? Like this dude had been doing hair and was like one of the best colorists, maybe like ever. He had traveled with all these like really amazing people. He had been on stage. But no, he wanted to stay down here. Right. And it's all these things that Casey, who's a hairdresser, she's like, yep. It's like all these, why is that true? Why is it true for him, but it's not true for, other people? They go to the next tax bracket and then they go to the next one and the next one, and they still get to enjoy, this amazing life, but he can't. Why not? Right? So we have to look at it and question it and become really aware of because you're not maybe consciously thinking, well, I'm really nervous that I'd have to pay more taxes, so I hope my pipes burst. Right? That's not happening up here consciously. And that's why it's tricky, because it's like, well, we don't know what we don't know. And so it's this one part of looking at it and getting really clear and getting really aware, right? Because we talked about that. It's like, that's the first piece. Then we have to craft the new spell. Then we have to, actually create the energetic container around that. And then we keep doing the subconscious work. We keep self-initiating, right? So a self-initiation would look like, okay, yeah, maybe I would have to pay more taxes, but cool, because then I'd be also able to serve more people. And then I'd be making more money, right? Like I'm also making more money. So it's okay. I'm not paying more taxes at the same level of income. I actually am making more money. So even that is just starting to look at it from a new perspective. And so it's like all these things like interwoven, but essentially it's the subconscious work is what is going to move the needle. And so when I talk about subconscious spell casting, it involves the subconscious, right? It's not just like, if you read about like magical things and creating spells and that kind of thing, there is a component that is physical and practical. And that's the other thing I really like about it, because we get to have kind of this ritual aspect to it and to the work that we're going to do. But we're also allowing it to go and get in the subconscious and actually shift things around so that the next time that influx of money comes in, we go, oh, well, look at that. I have a nice little cushion and now I get to build on from here and I get to keep doing it. Does that help?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking it, because when I read it, I was like, I bet everybody has that question. I bet everybody, because everybody's experienced it, including me. It's part of it. So whether we're talking about money or business or clients, right? Whatever, it doesn't matter. It's all of that is part of the process. Okay, so let's see here. I'm going to do another question. And if you all have questions that you would like to ask here, you are very welcome. Please you can just type in the chat that you just say, I have a question, and I can come to it. But okay, so I said I was going to do Rachel's next. Let me make sure I have yours in here. Rachel, would you want to unmute and ask your question? Because I'm like looking in here and there's a couple I actually cut off the people's names, which I'm like, well, that was smart.
So I posted about I'm a notorious course stacker.
Yes.
And I think we spoke about it in one of your sessions. One of the workshops was about how that's actually, a byword for fear and procrastination and learning it and not doing it. So guess my question with you, I am in other courses, so I'm doing TCP, I'm on the inner circle there, and I'm in a conscious business mastermind. And I guess I just wanted your thoughts, and anyone else really wants to jump in, about what is it about that? What's my sort of going on behind the scenes there? And also, I guess, level of commitment, or actually, Heather, your message yesterday, and your whole kind of, when you go down the kind of checklist about whether to invest in something, and that level of commitment, that really, like, it sort of triggered me in a good way. It made me kind of question myself. So I'm not quite sure what my question is. It's just really sort of just general fear and doubts, I guess.
Yeah. It's really good because a couple of things. So, there's sort of two ways that you could think of it. And then really from there, you sort of just get to choose. So I agree. I love what Heather's saying about, we really do have to decide, like, how committed are we to what it is that we want to do, and make investments from there. Now, then we come to your specific thing of, well, I feel like I'm always learning, but then let me ask you, because there's nothing wrong with taking courses. Like, that's how I've learned so much of what I've learned, is really immersing myself in things, right? And so I would say part of that is, how am I looking at it? Am I doing it and then they just kind of sit on the side, and yeah, exactly. And they just sit there and I don't do anything with them, because that is just one, it's just wasting your money and your time, right? Or am I taking them and integrating them and then going and putting them into action? So that would be my question to you.
So I'm certainly finishing them and I'm certainly doing stuff, but I'm probably not action orientated. I think, you know, when you spoke about feminine and masculine, and the masculine being the action and the doing, I'm way more on the sort of feminine side. Let's just bring it all in, you know, the intuition, which is lovely, because that's a whole new way of doing business that I've never experienced before.
Yeah,
starting TCP and coming across this kind of spiritual work. But I think it's just that spectrum. I've just lent way far too over to that side and not incorporating the action. So I'm definitely learning, definitely growing, but I wonder whether part of my willingness to buy courses is almost a sort of diversion and tactic to not take action, in which case I need to stop doing it and move into action.
right, exactly. Okay, so Heather's like raising her hand. I know she's sort of like chomping at the bit. So I'm just gonna ask her to, oh, did you do it? Okay. Hold on.
Okay, so finish this sentence for me. I am actually really afraid to sell my services because.
I don't know if I'm any good.
Ooh. There you go.
And if I don't know if I'm any good, what do I make that mean about myself?
It's a failure.
And if I'm a failure, then how can I show up and help other people?
You can't.
Right. And so, I mean, I think this is what's so powerful about the work that Sara does and she's done through this program, and helped me certainly, and probably a lot of the other ladies, is that so much of this, like that's why she hits on the self-esteem so much, is because it's so deeply rooted in like how we feel about ourselves and like the self-love piece. And she was like the first one to actually like, I was like, oh my God, I get it. You know? So like, I initially teach you that like, you know, about the self-sabotage, right? Like about self-sabotage of your money, like basically all the things that she talked about. And then it's like, it goes even deeper. Like I was like, well, it's obviously like your money, right? But then it goes even deeper in that because you spend the way you do, or because you do the things you do, the deeper level is how you ultimately feel about yourself. And so because you have a subconscious belief running in the background, that's what's winning out right now.
Exactly. Like, I don't know if I'm any good, then you're definitely not gonna be raising your prices. Cause that was something that we kind of talked about, right? I was like, what would it be like if you raised your prices? And you're like, oh, and it's like, yeah, you're not aligned with raising the prices because the spell of, I don't know if I'm any good. Right. Well, so have you helped anybody? I'm curious.
Yeah.
Oh, so you have helped somebody. Okay. All right. So hold on now. You don't know if you're any good, but you have evidence that
Sarah's reading my mind again. I was literally just going to say, so what's your evidence that you're not any good?
There's no evidence. I get told an awful lot. I've got amazing testimonials.
How often do you go back to your testimonials and read them?
Well, thanks to the work in TCP, I've been doing a lot more of that to kind of, you know,
Bye, Nikki.
myself the fact.
Bye, Nikki. Yeah.
Yeah. So I do go back and just
So,
sort of,
you know, one thing that I would encourage you to do is like when you're reading them, or like even if you like have memorized them or whatever, like you even close your eyes, like hand over heart, you like close your eyes and you like energetically like tune in to what that person is saying about you, because they've energetically given you that testimonial, they've energetically connected with you. And so what I would encourage you to do is like just pause, close your eyes, and like just feel into that. Like just like I'm even getting chills, like you just energetically connect in with these people that love you. And that the more you can energetically connect in with this is how you can start to show up in the world.
Did you listen to day 2's hypnosis?
Yeah, several times.
Did you connect to that?
Cried. It was the first time I've ever cried during hypnosis. It was super powerful.
Beautiful.
It was phenomenal.
And that,
So, yeah.
and why is it? It's not because of the words I was saying. It's because of what Heather's saying. You were connecting to what that feels like to be able to serve. And because you know that you're good enough. Some part of you does, right? And this is the whole thing of subconscious conscious. It's like some part of you knows enough that you're good enough to do it because you put enough together to be helping people, right? So some part of you knows enough to have gotten you this far. That's amazing, right? And so then this other sneaky little guy comes in. He's like, I don't know if you know enough. You might not be any good at that, you know? And so it's like, well, what part do I believe? Because maybe I'm not good enough, right? Maybe I help that one person and that person and that person, but like, what if I can't help anybody else? And that is the spell. And that's why it's so strong, because it is an illusion that has been literally placed over you based on all that past experience that we've talked about, right? There was some thing, and I would venture to say many little things in life that in younger years where it leads you to the illusion that I can't help people and I'm not good at it. But this is the work, is connecting back to the original essence, higher self of who you really are, and that part of you that is leading you to help people. And that's the self-initiation, right? So yes, I have an entire module that talks about how to build your self-esteem, because, and it's called self-worth equals net worth, right? Okay, bye, Amy. Thank you guys for being here. And so this is the other thing, is you kind of mentioned, like, you have more going out than coming in. And that is also like, that is feminine, right? That's all the feminine when it's going out, because you're, you know, but you're not able to receive it back in.
Yeah. Classic and harder as well.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, when I was kind of mentioning that to you in the post, it's like, oh, do you want to reverse that? Because that's what I do. That's what I help people do. And that's the first thing I'm going to make you do, is raise your prices. But you're going to align energetically with it first. Her eyes got really big.
I would also encourage you too to see, like, where else are you not receiving in your life? So, you know, I mean, you know, whether it be you have children, are they helping you with chores? A spouse, are you asking them to help you with laundry? If it's family members, are you helping with, you know, whatever? Like, where are you not receiving, asking for help, and then ultimately receiving?
Yeah, I'm getting a bit emotional about that.
Because it starts here. And here's the thing, like, if we can't receive non-tangible things, like somebody says thank you, My husband unloaded the dishwasher for me. My husband cooked me dinner. You know, my best friend sent me flowers. Like if we can't ultimately receive these things, like with the receivership and the gratitude, how the fuck are we going to be millionaires and receive millions of dollars? Like, how can we do that? Like, if we cannot even energetically, you know, accept somebody opening the door for us, or a thank you, and you look beautiful today, right? So I would encourage you to look at like, where are you not receiving in your own life?
Mm.
And then it goes back to worthiness, right? Do I actually, on a subconscious, unconscious level, believe I'm worthy of these things that I'm saying consciously that I want? And the answer is a resounding 100% yes, but I can't tell you that, right? And that's where, again, the self-initiation. It's like you putting on the crown of worthiness and saying, I'm worthy of these prices. I'm worthy of helping these people. I'm worthy of, you know, so-and-so doing the dishes or whatever it is, right? I am worthy of fill in the blank. But again, unconsciously. But here's where it gets interesting too, because, you know, we talk about getting outside of our comfort zones. And sometimes we think that that means like, you know, to, I don't know, do something like really crazy and really big. And it's like, no, sometimes it literally means what Heather's talking about, accepting a compliment that feels really uncomfortable. And we sit with it and we say, no, 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 I can be uncomfortable in asking for a higher rate. It's not going to kill me to raise my prices. When okay, and here's where we have to put it all into place, right? Because it's not just one thing. You don't just raise your price and then say, I'm worthy and I'm good. You know, it doesn't work like that. If it did, we'd already all be millionaires, right? No, it's, where am I holding something that tells me I'm not good enough? Where did it come from? Is it true? Create the new spell, put it in the subconscious, go raise my prices, right? And so it's like easy to kind of come over here and do the feminine aspect. And this is absolutely why I put both in this, right? So I talk a lot about feminine energy because I think it's really important and it's been written out of the equation, right? Like I said, but I think it's like, Heather, you and I talked about this. If you've been in the masculine, you then swing back over to the other side and be all in the feminine of like, I'm just going to sit here and know that it's going to come. And it's like, no, right? We can't do that either. We have to combine them. And that's where the magic happens. That's where the powerful equation is, that we then are being the magnet and the receiver and the energy and the electricity to make it happen. And you can't have one without the other. And so whatever you are, whatever side you're on, because I know a lot of people here have swung to the masculine, because that's a lot of our culture is very like honors those things. And so it's like the work is to swing back, not over here. It's to, how do we bring it in balance? And so for you, same thing. Maybe you're more on the feminine side. And so it's not, how do I go and to do all the things and do, you know, make it all masculine. It's no, how do I bring it into a aligned balance that feels good to me, and be working on the subconscious parts to be able to shift and do the things that I know I need to do.
Yeah. I came from corporate where I had to be very masculine, and I had to actually literally wear the suit. And I think starting my own business was a massive reaction to it. And the swing has just been right at the other end. So that makes total sense.
And yeah, I'm actually, because we're moving, I'm actually having to get rid of my like corporate attire. And it's literally like, I'm letting that part of my identity go. And it's in cycles, right? we do it in cycles. Like we do this swing, and so it's just realizing that like we're over here now, we get to choose.
Exactly. Yeah. And yeah, she says, I come from the corporate too, and coaching has been the total opposite for me, meaning that you swung back to feminine. Is that what you mean? And this is exactly kind of like the part that I see missing is how do we not just do the feminine now, but how do we also bring it all together so that we can have what we want? And that's why I love working with powerful business women who are doing big things in the world, because these are the people, you are the people who are going to be the ones to actually be motivated to do the work. I said this on the one of the trainings too, of like, it's boring for me to work with people who don't have a burning fire to go and like be something in the world and give something and give a legacy. Like because as I was even putting things together and, who do I want to work with and what's my niche and all that. And I was like, going through the process, and I'm like, I love working with people like you, because you are willing to do the work when you have tools that allow you to go and do it, because you know that you have a sacred contract to fulfill, right? And you even said like, well, yeah, there's part of me that knows enough to know, like I said, to get you here. And so all of you are that. You know enough to get you on this call, at least. You've started a business. You have an idea for a business. You're chugging along here, and there's more work to do, right? And so there's the other thing is like, I somehow attract people who have been doing the work for a while, and it's not about learning the work. It's about diving deeper in it and peeling back and getting, it's not always fun work. You can ask Heather, there's often a lot of tears. And, my groups are a little more intimate, so we can do that, but it's deeper. It's going deeper. And, in each module, for example, there's a hypnosis activation is what I call them, because it's always both. It's always, let's talk about it and let me give you the formula, but how am I going to activate it and go do the things if I am not moving that subconscious part? Well, I'm not. And so I'm like, let's bring that in too. Let's turn the volume up on that. And, when we're talking about, when Heather was saying, oh, I'm getting rid of some of my clothes, it's like, that is ritual. That is a strong container and an outward expression of something happening internally as well.
Yeah. And it's like so uncomfortable. Like it's like doing like these physical things. You're like, oh, what is it? It's just like, I'm having like, I like cry on Sunday when I was like having to clean out the closet. Like I was having this like crying experience, like, because I'm literally like closing the door on that part of my life. So like, it's uncomfortable because we're moving to a new zone that we don't know. Like we're moving to a new place that we don't know, we don't understand. And that's why the subconscious, like we have to get the subconscious on board, because our system doesn't understand this new thing. And so that's why doing this extra work around the subconscious and like getting the subconscious on board is because our system like is freaking out. Like, oh my God, you're not going to have any of this stuff. Like, what if you have to pay thousands of dollars again to buy more clothes? And, oh, you're going to go destitute, and like all the fuckery that your mind says.
Yeah. And that goes back to the first question where we were talking about like when you are in an unknown territory, even if it's something that you're like, but I want that thing. I think it's going to feel really good to me. Even when we're in that, there's still a part of us that is completely freaked out and completely like, I don't know. That feels like too much. That feels scary. Yeah. I was going to say something else, but it's gone now. It'll come back. Oh, I
Can I
know.
just ask a quick question about so in doing TCP as well and just working together, I presume it's a very supportive, those two programs are very, support and aligned and stuff. And this enabled me to go a bit deeper into the business stuff and
Exactly.
support the work.
Exactly. They're extremely aligned. It is a different program. Is there some overlapping concepts and ideas? Yes, but it is a different program. And I built in specific business things as well, right? And so, like, for example, we talk about what being seen on camera and on social to sell your services and actually get into what it looks like to actually have a sales conversation and feel good about it and, not shy away from it and all of those things, because again, it's all a piece of it. We want to be doing the internal work and all of that, but I want you to raise your prices and then go sell your services and make however much money that you desire to make. And it's possible. And I've seen it in my own life. And then I've seen it in, the alumni that shared yesterday, time and time again. I know that it's possible. And so it's like, let me create a place and a container for people to come and do that. Casey's raising her hand.
I wanted to kind of go off on, add to that, because I've done TCP also. Yes, they're similar and aligned, but they're different. And I guess I would say TCP is probably, in my opinion, was focused more on your personal self. And I don't feel, I guess initially when you start TCP, you think you're going in for business. And same with Becoming Magical, you think you're going in for business. You do so much inner work, but Sara does focus a lot on helping you grow your business as well, like giving you actual business tools. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
I just want you to know that, like, yes, some of the things align together, but what does Jim say? Repetition is master of all learning. So
yeah, definitely.
So, I mean, that part is great, but you get this added stuff in that TCP doesn't really touch on at all. So that's just, if you need another TCP opinion, they work well together.
And let me ask you, because, I end up being on all the calls and it's not too much for me, but it's also my, business. So Casey, is it too much being on all the calls?
Is what too much?
Like if you were going to do TCP again and also be on my calls, does it feel like too many calls? It's like, it's too many calls.
No, I never really can be on TCP calls live. So because of my work schedule. So I usually watch TCP at night or listen to it while I'm out doing my walks. But no, I don't think it's too much. No, I don't think it's too much. And some of the, I don't know if I can say this, some of the beginning homework is,
I was going to say, I don't know, maybe be careful because I don't want to.
oh, shoot, are you there? There we go. No, it's not too much. I've done 2 rounds of PC. Gosh, guys, what's with my talking the last 2 days? I've done now 2 full rounds of TCP and Becoming Magical. They overlap by what, a month?
Yeah, a little bit.
I mean, so I would say I felt more prepared going into TCP, having been doing Becoming Magical for 6 weeks before TCP started.
Yeah, and here's the other thing that I'll say, and then
Does that make sense?
I think it makes total sense.
Okay. Okay. But no, I didn't
so,
feel overwhelmed
So
and I guess
this is what I want to say. Hold on. Oh, I think we're overlapping. Okay, sorry. This is what I was saying is that after Casey did Becoming Magical, I was like, you should go experience TCP as well, right? Because it's like they're not the same thing. Mm-hmm. And so and they are aligned, and that's part of what I wanted to create is let me sort of do my own thing with the principles that still apply and can be added in. But like, I don't want to create another program that already exists. That's not my desire. My desire is to create my own thing that can serve in its own type of a way, but aligned with how I believe and what I feel is true about how we create. So,
Thank you.
Yeah. I don't think, I think having both courses is.
So this was the one thing I was also going to say about like some of the, so I posted a video today on Instagram where I talked about it, but in our second module, one of the things that we do is that we take something, some kind of physical, tangible, it can be a crystal, it can be a bracelet, it could be earrings, diamond earrings, it could be whatever, it could be perfume, it could be a shirt, like anything. And we charge that and like make it an actual like anchor for us. So it's like, we really get into some actual like magical side of let's create some ritual, let's create some those containers that will allow us to step in. And it's not, so one of the modules, the same module, we go into what does that sort of magical version of us really look like? And I love to wear red lipstick, right? And this was the video that I posted. It's not about the red lipstick, it's about the energy that I'm embodying, but how can I best show up in that energy every single day and let me tear apart all of my life, like Heather's doing, clean out my closet. I tell the story of my chair. So what is we're always looking at the internal, external, whether it be our actual, environment or what we're looking and feeling like and how we show up, what we're wearing, all of these things, and then moving on through the process. But just for an example of, we're diving really deep into some of the very magical side of things. And then we go into the practical, and then we go into the magical, and then we go into the practical. And then it's like, let's talk about what it actually looks like to build a strategy around your, so the way you show up on social media. How do you be magnetic? How do you talk to people? How do you show up in your power? How do you feel good about being seen and being rejected sometimes, right? Because there's the other part is like, some of you will say yes and you'll come into the container, but most of you will not. And that's okay, right? That's absolutely okay because of the work that I have done around that. Now, I used to show up, with a product, with something, especially when I was doing more like makeup things, and then it would not work out and everybody would say no. And I would cry for 4 days, and be like, well, I should just close my business. This isn't working. And make it so personal. And it's like, no. Let's go back to these actual energetic principles, the self-initiation, the self-esteem, the spells. What can I do? Everything in my power that I can throw at this, and like practical, tactical ways to actually show up and share things, right? So I think that probably talked that one to death. All right, so let's see. That does answer it for you, right? Okay, cool. All right, let's do another question. Okay, this is the one I wanted to answer, and I don't think she's here, but Heidi asked this question, and it was, can I do magic for my family, for people in my life? And like, is that okay, type of thing. And so I really did want to make sure that I addressed that, because kind of yes and no. We want to be really careful, because in magic, the whole idea is that we have absolutely, okay, bye Casey. We have a responsibility in how we share things and how we influence things, because back to like the black magic thing, like we have more influence over things than we realize or recognize. And so that's one way that, like, even saying something like, oh, maybe I'm not any good at this, right? Like we were kind of talking about before, is a very powerful spell, because it starts to create the reality. And so it's the same thing when we have to go in and think about other people as well, and doing magic for someone else. Now, let's talk about the caveat, because I believe that when we are doing magic, let's say for our children, that is a bit different than doing it for, say, our husband. One, if I was going to do it for a partner or a spouse, I would want to make sure that they knew what I was doing and ask for their permission, because they're involved. It's their life, and we're kind of messing with it at this point. And we're kind of inserting ourselves into someone else's experience. Even if we're doing it in a positive way, we still have to be careful, because it is we're infringing on their free will at that point. And that's not okay, because that can come back on you. And you don't want that. And so that's where I want to say, like, we want to be very careful with how we're doing our magic. But when our children are sick, or when our, children are whatever, one, I like to teach my son. I like to teach him how to do this stuff for himself. I like to show him what he can do. But like, for example, when he was really sick, he went through a spell where he got really sick for a few years. He would have bouts of things. And that's actually where, if any of you have my magical bath, we'll call it a protocol, spell, ritual, whatever, that is where it came from, was doing magical baths for my son. And it came completely intuitively, but I would decide what he needed in the bath, as far as like a salt, or like different salts, or different essential oils, or different crystals, or different, sometimes it would be like, if he was having a skin thing, it would be an oatmeal bath, right? So I would assess what he needed, and then I would use my hands. And I've been certified in Reiki, so anybody who's certified in Reiki knows that even if you're not certified, though, you can totally do this, but you're like using the energy of source, and you are infusing it or putting it somewhere where it needs to go. And so I would do that in the bath. I would use my hands and I would move them around in the water, and I would sing a song. And I would sing a song about healing and about how healthy he was. And he would be standing there, right? This is creating magic for him. And then I would plop him in the bath, and he would play and whatever. And then lo and behold, guess what? He's starting to feel better. So absolutely, we can do magic for other people, but we want to make sure that we have their agreement. And if they're an adult, of course, we want to make sure that they are completely signed on to all of it, because we don't want to infringe on their free will. But often I will ask my husband, hey, will you do a spell or ritual around X, Y, or Z with me? And we'll double charge the energy. Heck yeah, that's amazing, right? We can. And that's the other part of like having a group where you're doing these things together, these candle rituals or whatever. There's several built into Becoming Magical Academy, where we go through actual processes together on the call. And guess what we're doing? We're creating a very powerful container of energy together, where I'm seeing it for you and you're seeing it for her and she's seeing it, right? That's only supercharging the magic. It's supercharging it when we're all putting energy in a certain direction. So hopefully that answers that. And then the very last thing that I wanted to say, and just my little announcement, is that or did I already say it? I don't remember, but we are doing an extended payment plan. So that is coming out today. You all are the first to hear it. And so if you want the link for the extended payment plan, which is a 12-month payment plan at $197, then you can just DM me on Instagram or on Facebook or wherever, because it's a secret link. And I'll probably send it out an email either tonight or tomorrow. But does anybody else who is here have any other questions? And then we will wrap up. I appreciate you guys being here with me. And again, hopefully, even if you don't join us in the full group, at least you've gotten some nuggets that you can walk away with and say, I can actually go and put this into practical application. That is my goal for this, 3 days. So, okay. All right. Well, we will wrap up right there. Thank you all again. I just so appreciate you taking your time. I know how precious all of our time is. And so I appreciate you guys being here, you beautiful, amazing, magical people. And I wish you the very best of luck. And I will see you when I see you. Bye.